A quick update on Bitcoin and Ethereum again before the weekend, because exactly what I was waiting for has happened. In the last video, we talked about the $105,000 liquidation zone, and that has now been reached overnight. This means I have now opened a long order on Bitcoin for $2,500, and down here at $100,000, another $5,000 are waiting, which are supposed to flow into this position. I wouldn't close this now. I'm waiting here in case we go down a bit further and then have a reversal, because this liquidation zone here is very, very interesting. If this has now been bought up, we'll also take a look at the smaller time frame at the liquidation zone, where we now have quite a bit above us, so that we might catch that. If we actually go down and see the 100,000 mark, where there are still several billion lying around, then I would move my $5,000 position down to around $101,500 to $102,000, and would then have a very good entry into this price range. My Bitcoin US dollar position as well has now been scaled. You can see it. I had an entry price of just under $86,000, and now it has been pushed up to $91,703 because I went long here. Here too, there is still an order waiting at $100,000 so that I can continue to scale this position. Otherwise, the Ripple, that is the Ripple XRP position, is still a bit in the red, and I'm going to let that one run for now. And with Ethereum, as you know, I'm actually waiting until we break through this key level. I'll show you this in detail in a moment, until we confirm a breakout above this yellow area. Then I would scale that position because it's a bit larger. That position is currently around $25,000, and I don't want to scale it too early. It was entered at $2,105, so that it doesn't end up running into the red. But I've already realized $3,200 here. What am I still waiting for with Ethereum? With Ethereum, it's still the price range around $2,400 US. Here too, we still have several billions lying around, yes, on the 2-week basis if we look into that. But what have we done now? And for that, let's first take a look at the chart so you can see what my approach is. By the way, I even shorted it. I still have a short position open on Ethereum in the US dollar range, a very small one, because with this short position, I've already realized half of it, with about $400 left in it. But I noticed these are my key levels, these green boxes, that we had a rejection here, and when I saw that we were heading downward, I entered quite spontaneously. I think I saw it on the 4-hour candle, somewhere in this price range, that we closed lower, and that's when I went short. And that also lined up well with this line here, this support resistance line that I drew in. So I rode the move down to here and took 50% out of my position at this point. And right now I'm just waiting to see how things develop, because so far we've only reached around $2,555, but there's still quite a bit further down, and that's where my take profit for the short position would be, in that liquidation zone I just showed you. That means we would need to break downwards here. If that doesn't happen, it's no problem either. I've already moved the stop loss into profit, so that's taken care of. I still have my long positions, which continue to bring in profits here. But otherwise, this upward trend line, the support line we have here, we actually tested it exactly. And for now, that was our local support. We have to wait until the market's open to see how things will continue. It's going to get very, very exciting. Let's move on to Bitcoin now, because Bitcoin also found excellent support at a support line. Did you see that? In the last video, I think I already drew that in the lower part, and that has actually been our support so far. We could still break through here, but the liquidation zones are just so interesting that they've now been tapped. And if we, for example, switch down to the 3-day chart, let's let it load for a moment. If we look at it again, we can see that a lot has built up above us again in the liquidation zones, and you can see that in this area here. There's also a bit over $1 billion sitting there again at around 109 or 400, and a little above that just in the 3-day time frame, where we've now built up all this liquidity from the short orders that are pushing into the market. And that's why this is still very exciting. Will we now be able to recover and get back to 19,000? That would be the rising support here again. Well, currently it's resistance, and it would be super interesting to see if we can manage that. You can actually see here we had a breakout that worked out wonderfully, which would have allowed us to short it. I didn't short that one in this case. At Bitunix, I still had a short position open, which I had compounded bit by bit. But that one has now been closed at 105,000 US. I forgot to tell you that. I'll mention it again in the next video since I'm not logged in right now. I'll show you that because I had a short position. I went short here once and then went short here again. My average entry price shot up a lot, and then when I placed my long orders, I closed my short at the same time and took profits here. So really exciting. That's how things look right now. There's really not much more to say at the moment. We really have to wait now until the market's open to see what happens next. At the moment, it's just that, especially with Bitcoin, we've now clearly broken through this important support area to the downside, because after we broke through here, it acted as support once, twice, 3 times, and then that was enough for Bitcoin, or rather for the bears, and they just pushed us further down. And now we just have to see whether this will continue to be our resistance, or if we'll manage to break above it again and see new highs, which would of course be ideal with the liquidation zones. If I look at it now, where we also found support was actually here. You can see it with all these candles in this price range. That was also our support if we look at it on the ascending trend line here. Despite everything, if we turn on the VPVR, our main volume is exactly in this area, and that should actually provide very strong support. As long as we don't break through this main volume that we have here, exactly what was traded here, in a confirmed way, I actually see an upward trend again. So really just a wick that triggered or opened our long orders so that we can now realize new profits if we continue to move higher. Then let's take a look at the US Tether dominance. As I mentioned earlier, we had these significant all-time highs right here in the past, and now at the present moment, we also have our new all-time high that has come in here. As you can clearly see, there was a breakout below this very strong support or resistance line. The problem we now have with US Tether dominance is the following. We closed the daily candle above this rising support resistance line and have now found support at this specific level, which is quite important and which is a key level for us to watch going forward. And that's maybe not so great. You can see this very clearly on the daily chart. It's going to be interesting. How will the week close? Because the week is super important, so that maybe we close below it and then see new highs afterwards. Otherwise, things could really get dangerous now, because if we continue to close above that level, if we close above it on the weekly chart and the dominance stays above this support line, which is right there, then we really have a problem, because that would mean lower prices for Bitcoin again, and that's something we definitely do not want to see. Of course, I'll keep you updated on my positions in the next videos. I'm keeping this one long position open. It's actually only at 5x leverage, because if we go down, I'll scale into it. If we continue to go up and it gets confirmed, and you could see that in this price range here, so that we get back above this price range here, I would scale the long position I opened here again in order to realize new profits further up. Other than that, I still have the trading bot. You can see here it's been running for 10 days now, and even though we've already, bought the dip 11 times on one of them, overall we're still in profit. That's what I told you in the previous videos and also in the tutorial. It takes about a week or so, right? Then you continuously realize profits here, and even though we currently have a floating P&L of $22 overall, despite this floating P&L, we're $50 in profit. The other one is now at almost $300 in profit, even though there are currently $15 unrealized in the negative. And the last one I have here is $168. That means as soon as the take profit is hit here, about 1.7 to 2% will have been realized in, let's say, 11 or 12 days, depending on how long it still takes for the take profit to be reached. That's definitely quite a lot. Otherwise, like the video, leave a comment. We'll probably see each other again on Sunday. I don't think I'll be doing much tomorrow. Saturday usually isn't that volatile. Let's see what else happens today. Maybe I'll go live if the market allows it and things get interesting with the exchanges. And until then, I'll just say ciao ciao.